Soul Tribe, welcome to Jamie Unfiltered, where the masks come off and the truth comes out raw. In this reality, this present moment, I can't stay silent. A family is grieving the tragic loss of their loved one, Romeca Meeks. She was shot by her baby daddy's new girlfriend, who's also the new baby mama, in the South Loop area of Chicago, Illinois. Reports say it stemmed from baby mama and baby daddy drama, toxic cycles we've normalized far too long. We create memes about it, we laugh at the chaos and encourage it. But often, what happens when the drama turns deadly? What happens when children are left without their mother or father? Soul Tribe, this is no longer entertainment. This is an epidemic. But before I go deeper, let's look at what the data actually shows us, because numbers tell part of the story. Black families and single parenting. The CDC reports that over 50% of Black children grow up in single parent households. That reality already carries weight. Add toxic co-parenting such as manipulation, jealousy, and using kids as pawns. This causes generational harm. This is not destiny. It's the weight of systemic cycles. Children shouldn't grow up in broken homes where bitterness is their inheritance. Domestic violence and violent crime. 15% of all violent crime in the U.S. comes from domestic disputes, according to the DOJ. In the Black community, violence often affects our neighborhoods. This isn't about us being violent. It's because of a deep rootedness of problems, generational pain and chaos that wasn't meant for us. That's not drama. That's danger. If you normalize toxicity, it's going to just write obituaries. Black women and intimate partner violence. The statistic says that about 45% of Black women say they have faced intimate partner violence at some time in their lives. I couldn't find reliable data on domestic violence cases from baby mama or baby daddy conflicts, and that type of psychological abuse and coercive control, they're all widespread. If you wound the woman, you wound the womb and the generations she carries. Yeah. Black men and intimate partner violence, because we don't talk about it enough. 57.6% of Black men say they have faced intimate partner violence in their lives, according to the CDC and the National Violence Prevention people. This is their report. The National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence. The survey shows that about 57.6% of Black men experience intimate partner violence. This includes physical violence, sexual abuse, or stalking at some time in their lives. That's not small. This doesn't always show how many cases involve co-parenting drama or baby mama or baby daddy issues. The data often fails to distinguish between those stories. Their bruises, the men, their bruises rarely make the headlines. Their pain rarely makes the pulpit. Their cases rarely make the courtroom feel urgent. But silent doesn't equal safety. It doesn't mean you're safe, guys. Every uncounted brother tells a story of hidden harm. It's another father feeling shame instead of offering being offered support. It's also another son learning that his tears don't matter. And the cycle continues. Yeah. If we're going to heal as a people, we must see the wound on both sides. Because violence, no matter who it lands on, still breaks the family tree. These aren't stats, they're sisters. Romeca was one of them. I even looked into the Chicago local impact, and about 27,000 domestic battery cases happened last year alone. Of those, 75% had female victims, 65% of female victims were Black women. This suggests that 25% of the individuals involved were male, according to the CBS Chicago. Seen it from one of their articles. I searched for info on Black men in Chicago facing intimate partner violence, focusing on baby mama and baby daddy conflicts. I couldn't find any. But U Chicago Medicine discovered a significant decline in domestic violence reporting in Black neighborhoods during the COVID lockdowns. The decline didn't happen because violence stopped. It happened because people were afraid to contact the police. However, due to underreporting and classification limits, the actual number may be higher. This indicates that these cycles also harm men. They often go unnoticed and suffer in silence. So we just got a mess of men out here suffering in silence. 3 out of 4 involve women. But that still leaves thousands of men. These brothers in our community, specifically Black folk, but in our society, because this is not just a color thing, but Black people are in crisis. We are in crisis. Romeca was Black. So I'm talking to the people who identify as such. These brothers are suffering in silence in their communities. Silence in the system doesn't mean silence in the spirit. Mm-hmm. The cries still reach heaven. The Illinois Service Youth Study shows that male victims, including Black men, face intimate partner violence nearly as often as women do. However, they are much less likely to get help. Pain unreported becomes pain unhealed. Systems see them less, so they suffer more. That's so messed up, man. These gaps in the data, these are the numbers, don't erase the pain, man. What it does is show how hidden the suffering is. So we have to speak what is lived, what is real, even when the numbers don't fully catch up yet. And from my own life, I know some of that struggle. It's real, it's raw, and it demands our undivided attention, and specifically at this time. Our brothers are bleeding too. Not in alleys or headlines, but also behind closed doors. In relationships meant to heal with love, harm often took its place. Their silence is not their safety. They're told to man up, to take the hit, to swallow the pain. Can you imagine? Because the child that Romeca had was a boy. Society tells him to man up, that his mother was killed over some BS. He need to swallow it and take the hit. But Soul Tribe, when someone dismisses a man's voice, his pain doesn't disappear. It deepens. Yeah. It festers into generational trauma. Sons inherit silence. Daughters inherit distrust. And we cannot build whole communities if we only center one side of the wound. The healing of our people requires the healing of our men. Their pain matters. Their protection matters. Their peace matters. Protective orders, they're failing, clearly. Cook County, in Cook County alone, there were reported 77,000 protective orders between 2021 to 2023. Only 25% were served. Mm-hmm. Paper is not protection when the system fails to serve it. Children, they're the ones that suffer the most. Children in the line of fire. In 2024 alone, 13,300 children were present during domestic violent crimes in Chicago alone. Talking to Chicago, right? Chicago could be an example to everywhere else because it's all happening everywhere. But Chicago alone. You can see trauma written in their eyes. What they see, they carry unless we intervene. Escalation in Illinois. Domestic violence deaths jumped 110% in 2023, according to the Illinois Coalition Against Domestic Violence. What was once verbal is now violent. What was once petty is now permanent. Hotline and shelter crisis. I'm still talking about the stats, people. Yeah. Hotline calls have increased by 90% since the pandemic. Mhm. However, um, many survivors face rejection because there aren't enough shelters. Who are they going to run to? Who are they going to run to when they need refuge? Where they're going? 90% since the pandemic, man. The cries are rising, but safe spaces are few. The kingdom of God calls us to be a refuge. But Soul Tribe, as loud as these numbers are, they don't tell the whole story. Here's what the data shows, or I'm sorry, here's what the data does not show us. Okay? There's no category for baby mama, baby daddy violence. There's no count for women on women attacks and co-parenting. No breakdown of co-parent disputes and protective orders. No tally for fights spilling into courtyards, courtrooms, and child exchanges. No numbers for the psychological warfare of manipulation and humiliation. No measure of unreported cases silenced by fear or distrust. How? This is what I mean by the system has failed. Because why? Why aren't you guys doing that kind of data? Because that is where all of the violence comes from. Let's deal with it. Why? So, yes, the stats are sobering. So, yes, the stats are sobering, but the lived truth is louder. And that's where I have to take you next. What I went through, what Romeca faced, and what many others endured and is enduring goes beyond the charts and surveys. It's deeper than any headline. And that's why I'm here on Jamie Unfiltered, to give voice to what the numbers can't, to shine light where the data goes silent. This means we might not have perfect stats for every detail. However, my experience show these conflicts are coming and that they are painful and they need real justice and healing. Romeca's death is not just a statistic. It's a reflection of what's happening in our homes, our families and our culture in real time. Something, something the mayor and the elected officials of the CPD or the National Guard or Donald Trump, none of them can fix it. They can't fix it. And I speak to everyone today, but especially to my Black community. Because I am you. I am a Black American woman with brown, beautiful skin. I've lived the cycles. I've faced the manipulation, the disrespect. I wore it. And I know the weight of trying to hold peace in the middle of chaos. We are watching it play out in our cities, in our families, and in our culture. So Soul Tribe, hear me. The numbers are not the final word. The prophetic truth is cycles can break. You don't have to stay in them spaces. Homes and hearts can heal. Peace can prevail. It starts when we stop glamorizing chaos and stop using our children. Instead, we focus on protecting what matters most: the family. Soul Tribe, I need to bring you closer for this part. I didn't read this in a report. I am not a commentator on these. I'm not a commentator on these cycles. I live them. I breathe them. I got the bruises only those who've walked the road know about. Healed bruises exist, but they just no longer hurt. They still exist. When I was pregnant with my first child, I felt like the new woman in view, because I was married to a man who had at the time 9 children. Well, 8 children or 9 children. Yeah, 9 children. He had 11 total. So 9 children with 6 different women. Going outside felt like stepping on hot coals each time they were really around, if they were around. Being at family functions with this energy isn't for the faint at heart. One of the baby mamas took a route that was cruel and calculated. She used the system to control, punish, and silence the man she once loved. She showed disrespect for my existence as a Black woman, as if my very breath was a reason for the act. She filed for a restraining order, not for safety, but for control. She told her made-up story in court, and without evidence, the system, flawed and human, granted it. Because believe all women, right? Believe all women, right? I remember the day the papers arrived as if it was a physical hand trying to push me out my family, away from this guy that I also was now having a family with. Imagine you're pregnant, growing your family, and then the law turns against you. And honestly, it doesn't even have anything to do with you, because in my opinion, it had nothing to do with me. But it feels like it is attacked personally to you. I didn't take her man, even if I did. Someone decides you don't belong. That paper wasn't protection, it was punishment. Think about that. A restraining order used as a tool of control. The children stayed away from him until she decided to let them see him. She would also call him to fix her mess when it suited her. A few of them did, actually. She wasn't the only one. While still having the legal weapon in her pocket, it was so tiring. It was sarcastic. It was a campaign to destroy him and fracture our family, her family, that she didn't think she was a part of, or her children. But we all had children by the same man. Mm-hmm. I have never seen someone work overtime like her to destroy a man and his family. I am still working my way through that traumatic experience. I'm better though. Baby. The pain of what happened no longer hurts. But Romeca, ooh, she just won't. It may not hurt me anymore, but she did. And that got me. My husband, he experienced hurt in many aspects, including his emotions, reputation, his spirit, and his finances. These wounds had a profound impact on him. They also hurt our family and left us with generational pain. And me, I wanted retaliation, baby. I tried to clap back, to cause harm for harm. Yeah. Thought about it, actually. I did more thinking than I did tried. I remember nights when the smoke in my chest felt like it was about to erupt. I remember the animal urge to retaliate to protect my children's future. Because if you don't care about your own, I care about mine by any means necessary. I would often worry about the actions that could risk my freedom, my kids' safety, and my family's reputation. But there was a holy restraint in me, stronger than my desire to fight. I was mainly irritated that I was even put in the position to have to think about such things, because I didn't come with that spirit. The Holy Spirit kept me from a reaction that would have landed me behind bars or worse. Romans 12:19 settled over me like a mantle, baby. I'm talking about repetitive. And I still stand on this word. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. Clock that, T. This truth stopped me from violence and kept me off the path to prison or a broken heart. It kept me from bars, headlines, and regret. What I could not wrap my mind around then and now is the irrationality of it all. How can a woman, no longer in love, let anger at a new relationship guide her toward destruction? How could she, in her brokenness, decide that no one else should have access to this man, not even his kids. And my story and Romeca's tragedy show the same broken pattern on a deadly stage. And yet, that is how families get fractured. The men who fathered children with multiple women made a family, whether anyone liked it or not, or likes it or not. If you're new, you shouldn't even be coming into the family with a man who got multiple children by multiple women and think they going somewhere. Those are his children. Even if he wasn't there every day, so what? It may change. Things may get better and then things may get worse. Just because you ain't with him no more don't mean he don't get to be the daddy. He's still the daddy. He still has responsibility to that child and to the family. You are still family, even though you are no longer romantically involved, people. These children are siblings born from the same seed. And in that truth, responsibility should come, not conflict. Reports say the shooter had a restraining order against Romeca. A restraining order. The shooter had a restraining order against the person who was shot, the victim, Romeca, the person I'm talking about. Yet, the shooter, I don't know how to pronounce her name. They called her Holly, but that's supposed to be not her name. So her name is the shooter. The shooting of the baby mama, her. She showed up at Romeca's son's school with a gun. Let me ask for a moment, vibe with me here. Let me ask the shooter something very important. So because from my understanding, she's not in jail, and when she was out there on the street, because I live in the area. I live in South Loop. Right around the corner, this girl was killed in front of her school, her son's school. I run at her son's school track. And I didn't go out that morning. So I can't not talk about this, right? This is her son's school. This is Romeca's son's school, not the shooter. She showed up at Romeca's son's school with a gun. Let me ask the shooter something very important. It's really important. If there was a restraining order, why were you on campus? Why would you place a gun on a school ground where children gather? Why would you insert yourself into a space of the person you got in order to protect yourself from and to avoid? If you felt fear and you went and got a lawful protection, if you were scared, ma'am, and you went and got an order of protection, why? Why would you put yourself into a space of the person you got in order to avoid? If you really were scared, if you really felt fear, did you use lawful protection the correct way? Or did you weaponize presence into violence? To the Father, why allow this? Why risk your child and others by introducing toxicity into their learning environments? How? Because the girl was at the school with you. However it happened, she came to the school with you. I asked this of the father as well. Why was your girlfriend at your son's school if a restraining order existed? Especially when that said girlfriend is the one who pursued the restraint. She made it a conflict of interest the moment she did that. And she should not have ever been around your child because it's a conflict of interest. That was a failure of protection. Your child deserved safety, and he needed his elders who chose wisdom and not bravado. I won't pretend I have all the legal answers. The reports of the story may change, but I do know the spiritual and human cost. And as a result, Romeca is gone because of irrationality, jealousy, manipulation, rage, disrespect, and control. This is not self defense, this is destruction. Her child, Romeca, will grow differently because of a date that needed not have even happened. The shooter may claim, from what I hear, she may claim, you know, self defense. And I leave the justice questions to the law. I'm not a lawyer. These are my opinions. But I will say this clearly: nobody wins when family feuds escalate. A father who won't protect his kids or his child from harmful situations fails at his most important job. Women who use pain as a weapon against each other join a cycle of harm that lasts for generations. I know why men walk away from toxic women and the children dynamics. Sometimes it's the only sane move. It is the protection of peace and freedom. And I know the loneliness that follows that choice. It feels like rejection, but it is protection for the child or children, the mothers, and the fathers too. I know the whisper that says run when the house has become a battlefield. I felt those whispers, man. I felt the pull between standing to fight and fleeing to persevere. Anything left to protect or preserve. Anything, preserve anything of the situation, you know, that we can savage to protect. Sometimes leaving is the only way to keep your children breathing and your soul intact. But listen, when you feel the smoke of retaliation rise in you, Let the Holy Spirit be louder. When you feel like fighting back, say, Lord, hold my hands. Reacting will always cost more than being patient. In my life, it cost time. It cost sanity. It cost peace, but not my freedom. And that choice mattered for my children. And like the tragedy before us, these are not simply private quarrels. They are public wounds. They are wounds that say something about, how we treat each other as people. We must ask the hard questions. Who is protecting our children? Who? When we are out here acting a fool with each other, the adults, who's protecting the children? Sila. Sile. I think that's how you say it. Sile. Pause and think about that for a moment. Who is refusing to legitimize division for spectacle? Who is choosing reconciliation or at least stability over pride, spectacle, and revenge? Soul Tribe, hear me. This is a call to a higher way. The system isn't perfect, people are hurting, but we are responsible for what we bring to our family tables. If you are the mother, be a protector of life, not an architect of ruin. Jeesh. If you are the father, guard the peace of your children, even when the choices before you are messy. If you are the new partner, do not position yourself as an aggressor when the law already speaks. Boundaries should be boundaries. Courts should mean something. And please don't bring a gun where a child is learning to read. Cheese Louis. This is why Romeca's death must wake us up, not to blame, but to rebuild, you know, not to shame, but to heal, not to vilify, but to change the way we define family in the aftermath of broken vows and relationships and shared children. The price of ignoring this is always paid in blood. Soul Tribe, we have to hold each other to a higher standard. We have to model peace. We need to break down the glamorization of baby mama drama. Instead, we should focus on holiness, therapy, and accountability. Because Romeca is gone today. And we have to stop making room for the following headline. James 3:16 says, "Where there is envy and selfish ambition, you will find disorder and every evil practice." That's what we're witnessing: disorder, evil, death. When envy rules, it costs us lives. When selfish ambition drives, families collapse. This is why we cannot normalize toxicity. We cannot clap for chaos. We cannot keep feeding the spirit of destruction. The prophetic word is this: we must choose peace over pride, healing over headlines, order over disorder, or else the same cycles of the spirit of death will keep repeating in our homes and our communities and the general society. So, what do we do? How do we fight back against cycles this heavy? Number one, stop weaponizing children. Kids are not bargaining chips. They are not pawns in adult wars. Number two, seek family therapy, not warfare. You do not have to be married to get therapy. You have children by multiple women. You may need to bring those multiple women to the therapy chair. Being that multiple woman, you need to just go on to the therapy chair. Healing is the greatest weapon that we've got. Whole healing. And then number three is guard your peace. Guard your peace, people. Don't let manipulation pull you out of character. Your healing becomes your children's inheritance. Romeca Meeks should still be here. Her child should still have his mother. Let her story shake us and inspire us to break these cycles before they steal more lives. Soul Tribe, that's today's unfiltered truth. Heavy but necessary. Romeca's story is a warning, but also a wake-up call. Toxic cycles destroy families. Pride destroys lives, and peace can save generations.